Wow, this is a lot. Whoa, winds are getting up to around 30 knots tonight.
Oh, stop.
We get uncomfortable.
Are you clipped in? Clip in.
And we're faced with a huge problem.
Hi, this is Paul Fenn with another episode of Jeanneau Underway. For John, Tilley, and Kristina Costalos, the idea of moving aboard a boat and sailing off into the unknown was something they always had in the back of their minds. So when COVID came along and they found themselves unable to work, they thought to themselves, why not? Why not just go now?
Well, John and I always wanted to learn how to sail. This is something that we wanted to do actually in the Mediterranean. It's just that during COVID, John was stood down from his job as a pilot. So we were just stuck in our apartment feeling pretty sorry for ourselves. And at that point we thought, well, let's just move it forward by 30 years. Let's not wait for retirement and let's just go for it. Let's just do it.
It was a real silver lining for us, as it
Yeah.
was a lot of people. It seemed
Yeah.
like a lot of people took this as an opportunity to go and get into sailing and do the things that they've been wanting to do. So it was a great opportunity for us in the end, actually.
Their first order of business was to find a boat to buy, which as luck would have it they did. A Jeanneau 50DS, located just around the corner from their home in Melbourne.
We were looking for something between 40 and 45 feet.
Yeah.
And we had a budget for that.
Yeah.
And at the time, obviously, a lot of people, as we mentioned, a lot of people had the same ideas. So the boat market was pretty hot. There wasn't a lot of stock on the market. We travelled all up and down the East Coast over a period of about 2 months. And in the end, we found the boat that we ended up buying just down the road from us, which is always
From
the
where
way.
we lived.
But of course, it was in pretty good condition. It was a little bigger than we would have liked and a little more expensive than we had budgeted for. And of course, we were a little concerned about the size, given our lack of experience. But in the end, we kind of grew into it pretty fast.
We did.
They would spend 2 months in the yard making sure their new home, Tucana, was ready to go. They would pull the mast, replace the rigging, add solar panels, run new wires, change out pumps, do lots of cleaning, and repaint the bottom.
Go. Have a look. It's the big reveal.
We've done it green.
What color is it? Ooh,
navy blue.
Nice. Oh, thanks, John.
Then one day, after a lot of hard work and several delays due to bad weather and COVID lockdowns, John and Kristina found themselves off the dock and on their way.
It was kind of like one of the most exciting parts of our whole trip.
Yeah.
Because we'd spent 2 months in the yard, replacing the rigging, doing all the work on the boat. The weather was really bad because it was the middle of winter.
Yeah.
So we had some really big gales go through in the marina, which kind of rattled us a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there was lockdowns.
Severe lockdowns. It was pretty wild. And when John says that there was just that week, literally before it was like 6 months of lockdown, it opened for a week. And then it was 6 months of lockdown. We had this tiny window and we had 2 massive systems right in between us. So we just followed this clear patch of weather, didn't we?
Yeah, we went
all
on the back
way
of
to
the front
Sydney.
and we were actually really lucky that the weather coincided with the opening of the lockdown.
Otherwise we would have been stuck in Melbourne.
Yeah.
For like a whole nother 6 months and longer than that. Yeah, I was very naive. When we left, I was so excited. I had called my friends to come down to the marina to wave us off, and I was more just going, bye everyone, like we're going. And John's like, Kristina, put the fenders up. We've got to go. Like the fenders, you know, like
We've got
come
a
on,
job to
chop. You know. And as soon as we got out, we harnessed up because the weather was pretty, it was a bit choppy that afternoon. But yeah, at that moment, that isolation, that feeling of, okay, we're sort of on our own now, really hit me.
Yeah, as the city disappeared
Yeah.
behind you into the distance, and you start to calm down and relax,
Yeah.
you start to realize, oh, this is it, we're off, this is,
Yeah,
we're away.
exactly. And by
Yeah.
that stage, we'd only had 5 days experience on our competent crew course and then 2 weeks experience on someone else's boat. That is all we had, and only 1 day experience on our boat.
Yeah, it was,
That's it.
Their journey would take them first through the Bass Straits, then up the east coast of Australia, making stops in Sydney, Coffs Harbour, the Gold Coast, and eventually the Great Barrier Reef.
So we started in Melbourne, as we said, with getting the boat ready and departing, and we went non-stop all the way through to Sydney, which was about a 3-day sail. And then from there, we were able to slow down a little bit and start exploring the anchorages and towns and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, do you want to tell them about heading from Sydney north, the places we stopped along the way?
Yeah, we went to the beautiful Hawkesbury, which was absolutely beautiful. And then we actually went to Coffs Harbour. And we actually got stuck in Coffs Harbour because we weren't able to cross the border into the state of Queensland until we had been isolated from Sydney for 14 days because they were starting to have a really big outbreak. And at that point, John and I were a little bit nervous because we thought that we might have got stuck in New South Wales. But we were so lucky and we managed to cross the border and get into Queensland with like a week free before then those states closed from each other for another 6 months.
It actually did. Just as we crossed in, it closed, and it remained closed for about 6 months. So
Yeah.
if we had mistimed that by a day or two, the whole sailing trip would have been completely different.
The Great Barrier Reef would have been off the cards, you know, Gold Coast, Cairns, all the way up to Lizard Island. That just would not have happened.
Sydney was about to experience its longest lockdown yet, and cases would rise into the hundreds, shattering news for a country that had been able to keep its island COVID-free.
So there were another 22 cases in New South Wales today. So we really just want to make our way to Queensland once
The
and
next
for all.
place north from there was Fraser Island, which is the biggest sand island in the southern hemisphere, and it's famous for the wild Australian dogs, the dingoes, that live there, and a lot of traditional history
It's the
and
biggest-
beautiful landscapes there. So we were
Yeah.
inside Fraser Island, and then we went north inside the Barrier Reef. From that point onwards, all the way north. We actually went past the Whitsundays up to Lizard Island, which is probably, I'm not sure, maybe 500 miles north of the Whitsundays, I'd say, roughly, which was quite amazing. There was a lot of history there with obviously Captain Cook and the little towns and reefs along the way that were sort of a part of their journey. So we were sort of following that history as we went north and stopping along and seeing the reefs where, you know, they ran aground and where they repaired the boat and all this sort of thing. So that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with Lizard Island, like definitely look it up. It's one of those really beautiful places. It's the most northern resort in the whole of the Great Barrier Reef. It's where a lot of, you know, rich and famous people go to, and it usually costs about $2,000 to $15,000 a night to stay. It's a private island, so you have to get a small aircraft out there. But if you have a boat, you can anchor for free as long as you want. So John and I just enjoyed every moment there because you never really know when you're gonna be able to get back there. Yeah.
Something I'm always interested in is how couples, especially those that are new to sailing, settle into their respective roles. In other words, who does what?
I can answer this one,
Yeah,
and then you can follow.
yeah, sure.
So I actually couldn't put the main away because it was such a big boat. So that was John's job, but I would sometimes support him. up. But yeah, in terms of our roles, we learnt them pretty quickly. John was really great at being the captain and designating what we needed to do. He could foresee things that we needed to do. You were great. I don't know if that's because of his aviation background, but yeah, he definitely was a great captain. I mostly worked on the lines, and John focused on the navigation, the weather, and the steering. And
yeah.
It did take us about 3 months to really warm up into it before we
find our rhythm.
To find our rhythm. It wasn't instant. 3 months, I reckon, and then by the 5th and 6th month, we were
well-oiled machine.
Yeah, we were.
So I think we just worked out pretty early on what our strengths were, and because we were under a little bit of pressure as we were a little bit late to start sailing north for the season, we were under a bit of pressure to get going, so we didn't have a lot of time to practice and muck around. We just had to sort of get going, and Kristina was busy with our YouTube videos as well, so we really just sort of found our strengths and just worked to those as best we could. And then as time went on, we got an opportunity to try and mix it up a little bit as we sort of started to relax and make progress on the trip.
With the new year, we reflect and we dream.
Oh, good morning.
Speaking of YouTube, Kristina's Travels has quickly become one of the most popular sailing channels out there, and I was curious to know the secret behind its success.
So when we decided to buy the boat, given that I had the media background and media industry, it was a no-brainer that I wanted to, film the experience. And our family was obviously stuck interstate, and I really wanted to share our experience with them as well. So that's why we decided to film it and document it. And it was really a organic growth with the YouTube. It was like, okay, if it goes well, then fantastic. But if it doesn't, we'll have those memories for ourselves forever.
We were trained and conditioned to work the 9 to 5, to strive for that promotion, run after the carrot that was forever dangling in front of us, despite the goalpost continually moving and being pushed further towards the horizon.
I'm so grateful that we've been able to share the journey with so many people and actually inspire others as well. Like, we get messages almost every single day from other people, whether it be through YouTube or Instagram. They literally message us and say, thank you for sharing the journey. You've inspired my wife, you've inspired my girlfriend. Because, it's a lot of women can be apprehensive to put themselves in this position. It's a very male-dominated industry. And I think for maybe their partners being able to see how John and I worked as a team together and we just embraced the experience, I think has inspired a lot of couples to go out and pursue those dreams.
Something that I truly love is waking up aboard a boat, enjoying my first cup of coffee, sitting in the cockpit, and feeling the freedom that comes with being truly unplugged from the rest of the world. So I was curious to know if after 4,000 miles and a solid year of living aboard Tucana, if John and Kristina felt the same.
I love boat life. I love it. I love camping. I love being out in the elements. I know some people might say that it's uncomfortable, but it really wasn't. It was so comfortable being on our little floating home, and that's, I think, what it became for us, didn't it? Our bed was comfortable. I mean, we had quick showers. We had little Wim Hof, 20-second showers every day, but that just became normal. And I think we actually I had a real big appreciation of how lucky we are when we're on land, and you have this idea of how much battery are we using every day? How much solar do we need? How much water are we using? How much food are we going through? I don't know, you just feel like...
Yeah, we realise we're pretty spoiled on land, but also that you don't really need an awful lot to be comfortable.
Don't need much to be happy.
And just the simplicity of that just seems to cut out all of the noise.
Totally.
And waking up and starting your day on your own terms every day is sort of like a massive appeal. It's that sense of freedom and exploration, and also being close to nature, and it's just really refreshing. And as you say, Paul, you just focus on living and keeping the boat in good condition and getting from A to B, and it's really nice.
Yeah, I think we also became aware of our footprint. you know, and that was really special. I realized, yeah, when we went back to land, you really didn't need much.
Yeah,
Became
leaving the
real
tap running.
minimalist.
You got good at not leaving the tap running.
Yeah, and the lights off, and yeah, I loved it. I loved every minute. I think it's definitely like in our veins now, and I find it really interesting, you know, that we can walk on land, we can drive a car, you know, we can fly, but I think when you're able to get on a boat, it's a whole nother means of transport that you can't really describe to someone who hasn't sailed before. And I'm sure you feel the same way with flying, being able to be behind the helm for that, because obviously the majority of people wouldn't. But yeah, I just found that really special and liberating.
Like a
and
sense of achievement.
Such a massive sense of achievement.
Get somewhere.
Because you've done it yourself. It's like when you ride a bike somewhere, you're like, yeah, I got here myself, you know. You probably don't feel so that much in a car because, you know, it just becomes like a mundane thing about life. But yeah, being in a boat, yeah, you do get that sense of accomplishment when you arrive to a really beautiful location that you might not be able to access by land. So.
As my time with John and Kristina was coming to an end, I asked a question that I really already knew the answer to, but I asked it anyway. Any regrets?
Absolutely no regrets at all. I think it's something that we'll definitely look back on in years to come. I hope it's a story that we get to tell our grandkids one day, because like talking about it, sometimes I just well up, like I just cry because I'm actually so proud of us. I well up right now. I'm so proud that we got to do it. It was the most amazing experience and building experience, and
yeah,
we had a blast.
It was great. Probably the biggest regret was just not doing it sooner, and I hear that a lot too.
It was
and now I understand
amazing.
It was, yeah.
You know, even sometimes when we're editing the videos now, I literally well up like this because of pure happiness and joy, and yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing that you just, sometimes you can't even express. Yeah, it's just an emotion that you feel, you know?
Well, I certainly had a great time talking with John and Kristina. For the Jeanneau channel, this is Paul Fenn, and I'll see you next time right here on Jeanneau Underway.